Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. So this is gonna be an interesting video because it is gonna be all of the books I read in May, June, and July. Grab a snack, grab a drink, get ready because this is gonna be a long one. This is strictly relying on my Goodreads because I don't even remember anything I did in May besides go on a big trip. So May, didn't do a wrap up then because I was gone like the entire month, so didn't read much. But the first book I finished in May was conveniently Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, which is one of my favorite books of all time now. I loved this book so much. I just feel like Abby Jimenez's books are so deep and she just has such good characters, are so developed and deep, and she also has plots that are so developed and deep, and there's just always so much going on in her books where it's not boring at all, and I was hooked from the beginning to the end. I love the characters, I love the relationships, I loved seeing how they developed as people too. That was really good. This was a 5-star, and this is also probably one of my favorite books of the year, if not my favorite. So starting off this wrap up with a bang. Okay, and then I'm trying to decide what I don't want to do more, put pictures into the books or grab them off my shelves. Not a big deal. But next I read the little powerless novella Powerful by Lauren Roberts. This was like a really short and sweet story. I absolutely loved this. I loved the character that it followed and the direction some of the direction I didn't love, but like the storyline I loved so much. It was so interesting to me and I loved learning more about this character. It was so sweet because this character is just one of my favorites and I loved learning more about them. And if you've read this, you know how it goes, but it was very emotional throughout. I gave this one, I think, 4 stars, which is good for a little novella, but it really deserves it with how much she put into this. Like, it was just a short story, but it felt like a whole book. Like, it was that developed and that good. 4 stars for Powerful. And then I read This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune. I think I gave this one 2 stars. I didn't really like this book at all. I listened to it mostly on audiobook. I just didn't connect with the romance at all, and to me it was so boring. I felt like there was no plot, like, because there really wasn't. And for me, I love a romance where there's also a plot and just depth, and to me I really felt that their relationship was really physical and I just did not care about the characters at all. But I will say the setting was cool and very summery, so if you want just like a vibey book, you could pick up this one, but it's not incredible, so I don't really recommend it. But it was still an interesting time and I was entertained while listening to it. It was a good audiobook, but just not the characters I loved. And then I read Four Aunties and a Wedding. This is the 3rd book in the Dial A for Auntie series. I really enjoyed this one, but I felt like it wasn't necessary. Like, we could have went without this. Like, their story felt wrapped up enough in the second one, so I don't feel like we really needed it. But I did still enjoy it because I like these characters so much. It was just a really short, fun time. If you've read these books, you know how just like over exaggerated and dramatic they are, but they're still such a fun time, and I love this family so much, and I just really enjoyed this one. But I ended up giving it 3.5 stars because it was like a little short and a little kind of like dramatic, and I'm like, okay guys, this is a bit too much. Then I read The Wedding Date by Jasmine Gould. I gave this one 3 stars. I did really enjoy it. I think I also listened to this one mostly, which I did really enjoy. I felt like it was really fast paced, and I feel like although their relationship was pretty physical in this, which normally I don't like, I really enjoyed it more than I would like other books that like have a physical relationship, you know what I mean? Like, what was it called? This Summer Will Be Different was more physical, and so was this one, but like I really enjoyed this one more than that one. I think I really liked the girl character, and I enjoyed how it was kind of like fake dating. And I feel like this one, the timeline was more different from other fake dating books, and I really enjoyed that because instead of like the thing they have to fake date to being at the end of the book, this was like more towards the beginning, so you saw them past that, which I really liked. So yeah, I enjoyed this one. I give it 3 stars. It's just not something super memorable to me because it is more of like a rom-com romance book than like the deeper ones that do stick with me more. So 3 stars for this one. Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I loved this book. I cannot believe it sat on my shelf for so long, but I did feel like I read it at a perfect time. I gave it 4.5 stars. It was so good. It's more like literary historical fiction-y, but I absolutely loved the characters it followed, and I just found the family so intriguing and interesting. Like, I loved learning about them and I loved following our characters, and just watching them grow was so entertaining, and the world they're in, like kind of celebrity, beachy, whatever, was so good. And Taylor Jenkins Reid can just tell a story so incredibly. She does such an amazing job, so definitely deserving of 4.5 stars. And then we read People We Meet on Vacation. This book, guys, I don't know what Emily Henry did different in this book, but I didn't really like it. I gave it 2.5 stars. I just did not connect with the characters at all in this one, which is so weird because all of her other books are like, they hit me right in the heart, like I love them. But this one I just could not connect with, and I didn't really enjoy it that much. I did enjoy, though, it kind of focuses around travel, and I did enjoy that aspect. But yeah, that's really it. I literally never think about this book, and I honestly forget I even read it. So that's Big Women on Vacation. And then I listened to The Betrothed by Kiera Cass, and let me tell you guys, this book has absolutely terrible reviews on Goodreads. Like, I think the average is 3 stars, which is pretty low. I just didn't really care. Like, it was entertaining as an audiobook, but if I read it physically, I don't think I would have got through it. The romance in this book was so weird. Like, it was so fast paced that it was like actually crazy that it was actually happening. It just didn't feel super developed. Like, I didn't love it. I do think I will eventually listen to the second book, but it's not something that I like have to finish. It did kind of end on the cliffhanger, so that's why. And it was just so fast paced. Like, I think I listened to it like one day. The audiobook's good, but reading physically, you know what I mean? So I think I give this 2 stars. I'm sorry about the change. My camera died, but we are back. So, okay, next up I read Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. Well, I mostly listened to this one, but I really enjoyed the audiobook, and I really loved this book because I really enjoyed the main character. She was such a baddie, and I feel like she was a good leader to her pirate crew. So this basically follows, what's her name? Alosa, and she is the captain on her ship, and she basically has to go on this mission to go undercover kind of and steal a map. And I really loved that mission style, and I loved the pirate boating, pirate ship aspect. So I gave this one 4 stars. I really loved it. The ending went crazy. I did end up reading the second one, but we'll talk about that in a bit. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one because I just thought it was really well done. I felt like the world was super developed, and I really enjoyed the characters and the little crumbs of romance we got in this. And there's definitely some twist in this series, so I highly recommend. And then I read Caught Up by Liz Tomford. You guys, this is like a 5-star series. I gave this book 5 stars because it was so good. Kai, and I really enjoyed his son in this story because he is a single father, which normally I don't love children in books, but Max, the boy, he was literally the cutest thing ever. Like, he's adorable, and I really loved their romance, and I felt like Kai and both Miller, the love interest, had to work through a lot of things on their own, and they did that by themselves and together. So I loved like the depth behind it, and Liz always comes through with like emotional books. Like, I was crying, happy tears and sad tears. I always love in her books the found family, and the team aspect, like the baseball team, was so good. I loved them so much. Just go read this book. That's all I gotta say. And then I read Royal Holiday, which is the 4th book in the Wedding Date series. I didn't really know it was all the way to the 4th one. I just borrowed it on Libby and listened to it. I ended up giving this one 2 stars. I really enjoyed the vibes of it, but there were a lot of things I just wanted more of, and I really felt like their relationship was like too physical for me. Like, it just wasn't my vibe. And also I feel like it was maybe for a more mature audience than myself because, you know, like they were my parents' age. So reading about it was a little interesting because, you know, like I don't want to think about my parents doing that type of stuff. So I ended up giving it 2 stars because I also just felt like there were some points of it where I'm like, are you guys even in love? Like, some of the things that they did, I'm like, how do you not care? Like, she's literally leaving and you don't care. I would still recommend it. Like, I do think a lot of people would still love it, but for me it just didn't hit as hard. But I did like seeing some of the characters we met in the Wedding Date in this one, and I do want to go back and read the 2nd and 3rd book. I just didn't realize it was the 4th, or even that this one was in the series, since I just borrowed it on Libby randomly. And then I read Counterfeit by Kristen Chen. This is, again, I was really in an audiobook mood. Like, these 4 books that I've talked about, or these last 2 books, and then the next 2 are like fully audiobook, just random Libby borrows. This one, the storyline really intrigued me, and I think I heard Rachel Catherine talk about it probably over a year ago, about how it's about how this lady, she gets involved with the selling fake purses business, and her friend kind of involves her in that, and it's kind of like, you know, like a moral dilemma. Like, do you help? What do you do? Just learning about that whole industry was really interesting. It was just crazy to learn about, and it sparked a lot of thought from me, which doesn't always happen with books, so I did have to give it that. But I feel like some of the characters were, a lot of them were kind of unlikable, and I just didn't connect to the characters characters or care about them. So I ended up giving this one 2.5 stars. It was still entertaining, but it wasn't something I think about often, but it was a thought-provoking read and really entertaining and just kind of informative, I guess, about that industry and that what may go on. I don't know if it really does because it's fiction, but. And then I read The Soulmate by Sally Ward. I think I also gave this one 2.5. Like, I enjoyed the beginning of it a lot, but I felt like the twists and reveals weren't that great and that it could have been a lot more thrilling, and I don't know, it just wasn't the best for me. But I really enjoyed the premise of it, how they like live on this cliff and the husband goes to stop someone from jumping and she ends up jumping, so it's just kind of like more mystery-y, and I just didn't really love the ending of it. Like, it was fine, but it wasn't that good, you know what I mean? Like, it didn't hit. That was my take on that. It's still an entertaining time, but not something I really think about ever. And then I read A Novel Love Story by Ashley Poston, and I was really excited for this one because the presence, pretense? Why can't I think of that word? The summary of this book sounds really interesting, how she basically gets lost in a book world, like she gets transported into her favorite series world. But for me, I can't explain it. I cannot explain it, but to me, the town, the vibes just felt bad. Like, when she got there, I was like, it was kind of creepy to me, and I cannot explain it any more than that, but that's just how I felt while reading it. I couldn't connect to the characters, and I didn't really like the guy, and the way my brain works is I need answers to something, where the magic system in her books isn't really ever explained. With this one especially, it kind of bugged me. I'm like, I need to know. So I gave this one also 2.5 stars because I love her writing, and I did enjoy like learning about the side characters, but I just didn't really care about the couple. There were parts of this that I enjoyed, but overall I didn't really like it or vibe with it at all. Yeah, that's this one. Maybe even a 2-star. I don't know. This book just didn't sit right with me, and I can't explain it. I literally cannot explain it because I gave 7 Year Slip 5 stars. And then I read Deadly Little Scandals by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. It's also a 3-star book, so this is where I kind of hit like a rough streak with my reads. So this one, it was the second book in the series, so I really thought that this would pick up a lot and that things would get more dramatic and more entertaining, but this book took me forever to get through because I just didn't really care. I felt like it drug out a lot and not a lot really happened, and when stuff did happen, it took forever and was like just got over with super quick. I did enjoy the first book and the series in general, but it's not something I think about ever, and I do think Jennifer Lynn Barnes's other series are a lot better. I liked the premise of this, and there definitely were some like twists that shocked me. Nothing that I really remember, and it was just an okay time. Like, it wasn't something I really think about, and I feel like I like her other books more because they're more mystery-y and thrilling, I guess. And then I listened to most of this, but These Violent Delights by Chloe Gong, I think I'm gonna give this one 3.5 stars, maybe 4, I'm not sure. I feel like when I was listening to this, I was really enjoying it, but when I stopped, I forgot about it, and like now being done with it, I don't really think about it. But I did really enjoy the premise of it, how like the gang war is going on and they're working to solve a mystery, but I feel like it was really drug out. Yes, there was the mystery aspect and they had to do things to work towards solving it, but I feel like it was a really long book for what happened, and there were a lot of parts that could have been, you know, cut out, but I did still enjoy it. I actually really enjoy the characters of this and the gang aspect, so I am really excited to continue this series and then get to the spin-off, so I definitely will be continuing that. But this one, I just felt like it drug out a lot. That's really my only complaint. I did enjoy the mystery aspect a lot, and it was just really interesting what was going down and figuring it out with them. And then I read Reckless by Lauren Roberts. When I originally finished this, I think I gave it 4.5, but I honestly might lower it to a 4. I feel like these past couple months my ratings have just been all over the place, and like I don't really know, because I have been just like trying to hit my reading goals. I've been reading more books, consuming more content. This is another one. When I was reading it, I was like obsessed. The more that I think about it after, I realize that what I wanted from this book didn't really happen. Like, I feel like with how the first book and the novella set this one up, we kind of expected and figured that a lot more was going to go down than what happened in this one. So I was very kind of disappointed with some of the things that were lacking from this book. With saying that, I do feel like this set up good for the third book, and I can see why she didn't include all that stuff in this one. I think this set up in a way for the third one where it was good, but it's not like a point where I literally cannot wait anymore for the third one and I'm begging in her DMs for an arc, you know what I mean? So I do think it was a good second book, like a good middle like transition book, but I do think I'll lower my rating to a 4 because I don't think about it enough for it to be a 4.5, and with some things that should have really been included in this, I think that it should be a 4. I did still really enjoy it, and I was kind of hesitant that I wouldn't like this one as much, but I did really enjoy it, and I think because of Powerful, I enjoyed this one a lot more than I originally thought I was gonna. And then I listened to Daughter of the Siren Queen, which is Daughter of the Pirate King 2. So I ended up giving this one a 4.25, but again, I feel like I should lower it to a 4. I don't know, like this is, I've just been so indecisive lately and I'm sorry. I did really enjoy this one, and I feel like this one, the story took a turn, and it was a turn where it got even more interesting and better. So I really liked that. I loved the romance in it, and I loved just like the action that happened in this book. It was so good. A lot happened, a lot went down, and there were a lot of just like tough situations that these characters got into. And like I said about the first one, she is a good leader, which although I can't remember what video it is, but I said I was like skeptical about her choice for one thing, but it ended up being the good choice. So I did really enjoy following her as a leader in this one as well, and I just loved it. I read Same Time Next Summer by Annabelle Monaghan. This is my first book from her, and it will not be my last. I'm going to binge her books soon. I loved this one so much. I really loved this one because I feel like I love just a deeper romance where there's like plot going on other than just the romance, and I feel like Annabelle Monaghan delivers in that. I love her writing, and I feel like with this book the characters just had so much depth to them, and they had a lot to work out on their own, and they did that, and then they worked themselves together, and I loved that so much. I really enjoyed our girl character in this. I feel like her interest and what she had to go through were very entertaining and touching to read. I loved the romance in this too. I loved the setting. The setting was so good in her book. I can't wait to read the rest of her books because it was so vibey and it's perfect for summer, so I highly recommend this book. It was so good. I think I gave this one 4.25, which is a very good rating, and it's so well deserved. And then I read Unwanted by Mia Sheridan. This book was 5 freaking stars, y'all. I loved it so much. This is another one of those books where it is more plot heavy than romance heavy, and I think that's how I like it because the romance was more of like a subplot, but it was still like a main focus too. I really loved this story. It's about our wilderness guide Harper, who she gets kind of tasked with helping the police station solve a murder from the town, and it's also about our main guy Lucas, who he has lived in the woods alone for basically his whole life, and so he is kind of like adapting to society, and she is trying to figure out the murder mystery. And I loved both storylines equally. Lucas's story was so touching, it was heartbreaking, it was heartwarming, it was just so entertaining, and I also loved hers with the investigation. And this book literally just had everything that I like in a story, so I really loved this one. Please go pick this up. I feel like it just got traditionally published, I think, or like redone. Like she redid the cover and the title, so definitely go pick this up. I like beg you and look at the cover. This was a 5-star, guys. And then I listened to The Light We Lost by Jill Santinopoulos. I low-key hated this book. I think I'm gonna give it 1.5 or 2. It made me so upset, like just the decisions that these characters made. I'm like, oh, why do you do this? At the end I had questions and they didn't get answered, but with how the story was set up and told, I understand why I didn't get those answers, but it just made me mad. Our main character's decisions and the things she did and how she just like, you know, validated it to herself. I just did not agree with what she was doing. I did not care about the characters. I didn't care about the romance. I didn't care about anything about this book. Let's move on and not think about it again. And then I read Play Along by Liz Tomford. This is just a series that I will rate all these books 5 stars. Liz Tomford is my queen. Like, I love her writing so much, and the way she creates characters, especially the guys, literally shut up. This one was just such a fun time, and I really enjoyed the character growth, especially in this one. I feel like our main girl Kennedy especially, she grew a lot in this story, and it was so cool to see, and I loved reading about them, and their relationship was so cute. I love Isaiah too. He is just acts of service, just king. He's just a king. That's it. That's the message. And again, same with this one. Same found family, same team aspect that I loved so much. So definitely just read this series. I skipped Mile High though, so I don't know about Mile High, but the other 4 or 3, love. And then I read Heartless by Elsie Silver, which I have been in the middle of this book for an entire year. So I finally finished it, thank goodness. But with that, since it took me so long to get through, I'm gonna have to give it 2.5 stars, which I know this is a lot of people's favorites. It just didn't hit for me, I'm sorry. Like, I could not get into it for an entire year. I just feel like it was very physical for me, and there wasn't a lot of plot, which, as we've talked about, that's what I like in a romance book. So I just didn't love it. I did not really connect with it or care that much, but I do love the Chestnut Springs world so much, so I definitely will be continuing the series, and I hope one of them I really enjoy, but it just wasn't this one. Yeah, that's that. I'm gonna move on before you guys yell at me. You guys know what I did love though? I bought this book in 2022, September. It took me till now to read it, and I did, and I gave it 4.25. I freaking loved it so much. Abby Jimenez is just a queen. Like, I love her. Everything I've read by her has been over 4.25, so that's saying something. I just loved the guy in this book so much, and the girl, I mean, you can tell from the cover, their worlds are completely different, but when they come together, I love them so much. I loved how these characters, especially the girl, she really found herself in this book, and I really liked reading about that. And their story was so good because you got the small town, you got the city, and you got them together and forming a life that they both like. So I really enjoyed that because this book was just so touching to me, and Abby Jimenez always comes through with the plot and the romance, and I loved it so much. It was perfection. Well, not quite perfection, but almost perfection. Please go read Abby Jimenez's books. I love this one so much. Now that I read this, I need to reread Yours Truly and Just for the Summer because they are interconnected. So I really want to understand more of the crossovers, you know what I mean? And then another book that has been on my shelf forever. We have Bonecryer's Moon. I listened to this one completely and it was a 2-star. I low-key hated this one too. It was so boring. I had really high expectations for it, honestly, but I have been putting it off for so long, and it was just so boring to me. Like, not a lot happened at all, and I don't even remember what happened at all, and I finished it like a week ago. I couldn't even tell you a summary. Like, the plot, couldn't even tell you. All I know is that there's bones that you have to find or get, and then the girl got lost. And most of the time with audiobooks, like even with The Light We Lost, I could still be in the world and like know what's going on, but this one I couldn't focus. I could not lock in. I was so just zoned out the entire time, and I could not get zoned in, I guess. So yeah, I give it 2 stars, and I feel like that's pretty generous because there were parts of it that were interesting, and I do think I can respect the world and the idea the author had behind it, but I don't know if it was explained or if I just missed it, but it just, no. And then I read Grey Veil by Lynette Noni. This is the 4th book in the Madoran Chronicles series. I gave this one 4 stars, and I loved it because I've been really enjoying this series so far, and I feel like this one, a lot happened and it was a great setup for the 5th and final book. I feel like it set it up in such a good way, and there's just so much anticipation now, especially from me. I'm so excited. I love the characters so much, and we finally got more romance in this series after 4 books. Definitely it's more character plot driven than romance, but there is little crumbs, so keep that in mind. The end of this book went crazy. It did drag a little bit through the beginning and middle, and it did take me a while to finish. Like, I started it a couple months ago, but really like actually put time into it recently. So that is my thoughts on that book. I can't really say much because it's the 4th book, so like I don't want to give anything away. So I put this out here. It's technically August now, oops, but I put this out here and I technically finished in August, but this is a sneak peek to my next favorite book that I will talk about next month or this month. But anyway, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what your favorite book was in May, June, and July. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.